It's no secret that Saudi Arabia is buying all of world sports right now. From buying Newcastle in the Premier League to getting superstars like Ronaldo and Benzema to go play in Saudi Arabia, making a breakaway golf league and Liv Golf to challenge the PGA, putting money into F1, into the WWE, even getting into the esports business. But the question is why? Why are they buying all of these sports? Well, to find out the answer, we have to go all the way back to 2016 when Crown Prince and Chairman of the Saudi Arabia Private Investment Fund, Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, came out with Saudi Vision 2030. A strategic plan that he believes could get Saudi Arabia's economy and worldview set up for the future. And it's got three basic pillars. He wants to build an ambitious nation, a thriving economy, and a vibrant society. So let's take a look at these three pillars first, and then let's all take a look at how it relates to sports and why we are currently at the point where Saudi Arabia is owning all of our precious sports. The first pillar, an ambitious nation. He wants Saudi Arabia to be innovative, to find out new ways of doing things, most notably in infrastructure. He also starts at the top, saying that he needs the government to be more effective and more efficient with the way that they do things. Then he calls upon his people to have some social responsibility, to go out, chase their dreams, find new ways of doing things. And the major way that he's doing this is by providing education for all ages of all people across his whole country. So he believes in education, innovation, and that's how they become an ambitious nation. The second and most important pillar that kickstarted this whole Saudi Vision 2030 is a thriving economy. Now, historically, we know that Saudi Arabia's economy has been run through oil. They had large amounts of oil. The rest of the world needed it for anything that they wanted to do, so they would just sell the oil to the rest of the world. However, we all know that sooner or later they're going to run out of oil, and now that we're in the day and age where the world is moving away from oil and looking to more sustainable ways of energy, such as solar or electric, Saudi Arabia is in an extremely vulnerable position. So now they have to diversify the economy and find ways to keep money coming in to the kingdom once they're no longer selling off their oil. So, diversification. Diversification talks in Saudi Arabia started back in 1970 when they set up the Private Investment Fund, which is basically just a massive savings account for the country as a whole, where they would put some of that money to the side and say later on, we're going to have to invest into something else to bring money in once we're no longer selling oil. That private investment fund today sits at $650 billion and looks to top over $1 trillion in the next coming years. So how are they going to invest it? Well, let's look at the next pillar. A vibrant society. A major sector of any country's economy is tourism. People coming in from all across the world to explore your country, to explore your culture, what you guys have to offer, and in the process investing their own money from their own countries into yours. Well, for the Muslim world, Saudi Arabia already kind of has this on lock, as Mecca is located in Saudi Arabia. And as a Muslim person, you are supposed to make a pilgrimage at least once in your lifetime to Mecca, which is the most holy shrine in the Muslim world. Mecca brings in 2.6 million people a year to Saudi Arabia, making it the most visited place in Saudi Arabia. But how can they appease people who aren't in the Muslim world? Well, this is why they want to make a more secular view of the country to the Western world. How are they going to do this? Well, step one is infrastructure, so let's look at it. The Crown Prince is assigned Niam, which is a desert in the northwestern part of the country, 10,200 square miles wide, to be the heart of architectural innovation. He wants to build four major projects: The Line, Oxagon, Trojana, and Sindala. He's hoping that these four landmarks can serve much in the same way that the Burj Khalifa serves in Dubai, to bring people from all over the world to come in and just admire the beautiful architecture. So let's take a look. The first one that I personally saw was The Line. Instead of cities being built outwards, he wants cities to be built upwards. So it would be 105 miles long, two massive walls on the outsides, which are going to be made of reflective mirror to kind of give it that invisible look. And on the inside, it's going to be able to fit 9 million people. Apartments, schools, whatever you need, all stacked up upon each other, and you can get anywhere you need in 15-minute walk. So there's going to be no cars. It's going to be extremely sustainable. There's going to be trees and all of that on the inside. And honestly, if this works out, which I'm hoping that it does, I feel like it could transform the way that humans live on planet Earth. Instead of taking up all of this space, if we can just build upwards, we can get anywhere we need to go. We need anything you need to do. You could just leave the city walls, go explore nature. I feel like this could really help the environment, as we're not taking up as much space. We can have more greenery, more sustainable things all on the outside while still living our normal lives within the city. However, if you've been to any major city, you know that pollution and trash is a major problem. So how are they going to keep this city running? Is it going to take a lot of people to maintain the city running? And that's why he called on the first pillar social responsibility. He's hoping that the people can take the responsibility upon themselves and take pride in the line and in the city and in Saudi Arabia to say, hey, no, we need some more social responsibility. We need to keep this place clean. We need to help our planet. So that's the first project there. The second is Oxagon, which would be an octagon-shaped port right on the Red Sea, which, number one, is extremely useful because you can get in and out of India or the rest of the world, bring things into the country, whatever you need, which would be cool. But then it's also going to be the world's largest floating structure that mankind has made. So that would be a massive, massive architectural feat. The third, and the one that absolutely blew my mind, is Trojana. They're building a $500 billion ski resort in the middle of the desert. And if you can make it snow in the desert, you can do absolutely anything that you want. It's going to be 33 times bigger than New York City. It's going to be run fully on renewable energy, and it's already slated to host the 2029 Asian Winter Olympics. So again, sports are already coming into this thing. It's within this 2030 time frame. And the last project is Sindala, which would be an island resort right on the Red Sea. It's appeasing to the yachting community, which is obviously a community that has a lot of money. So he's hoping that he can appease the yachting community to come in and invest a whole bunch of money into Saudi Arabia. And it's going to have 86 berth marinas and numerous hotels. So again, to tourism, to the yachting community, he's being really appeasing, hoping that he can bring these people in to invest into his kingdom. And now the last part, promoting entertainment, and this is when sports come in. So let's take a look at how they're getting into the entertainment business. The one thing that can connect people from all over the world, all different generations, is sports. The idea that I can sit with somebody from Italy that I have no idea who he is, where he came from, what his political views are, but for 2 hours we can sit down at a bar, drink a beer, and watch the game is something that is absolutely beautiful, and Saudi Arabia has realized this. Number one, it's the only thing that people really watch that is live on TV nowadays in the world of streaming and all of this. You don't really sit and watch a show, but you'll sit there for 2 hours and watch a sport, which is absolutely awesome, and I love it. And I do it every weekend, just much like probably all of you guys do. So Saudi Arabia saw that this was a worthwhile investment, and in 2001, they bought Newcastle for $408 million, making it instantly, overnight, the richest club in the world. Now that they've bought Newcastle, they kind of got their foot in the door with sports, and they said, wait a minute, why are we buying a team in another country that's just going to drive tourism to the other country? Why don't we just grow our own Saudi soccer league here to make people come here and watch sports here and waste their money here? Again, all going back to tourism. So the PIF, the private investment fund that we've been talking about, has taken over Al Nassr, Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, and Al Ahly. They took over the 4 biggest soccer clubs in their country, and they basically have endless money, so they can just recruit all the players that they want. They're not held by UEFA's fair play rules, so they have no limit on how much they can pay these players. So they went out and they made their first major splash when Cristiano Ronaldo joined the Saudi League. They then most recently tried to go out and buy Messi. They tried to pay Messi $1.5 billion to come play in Saudi Arabia, but Messi ultimately declined that option and decided to come to the MLS. But was Saudi Arabia not getting Messi the best thing that could have happened to their league? Well, I'm going to be making a video about that tomorrow, so make sure to come back for that one. But they have gone out. They got Benzema, Kante, Ziyech, Koulibaly, Mendy, and the league is growing. While most people, the first thing that I saw when Ronaldo signed for Saudi Arabia is, where do we even watch this? How do we even get here? Well, now that they've got a whole bunch of named players over there in Saudi Arabia, I believe that the league will slowly start to grow. They're getting some older players, yes, but they're also signing some younger players. So they are setting up their league to be one of the more competitive leagues in the world and hopefully bring people over to Saudi Arabia to watch these games. Now, not only have they looked at soccer, they're looking at all these other sports. Let's look at golf. They created a major breakaway league in Liv Golf. The PGA for so long has been the golf league of the world. Everybody watches the PGA, and they went out and spent $2 billion to create Liv Golf. Again, all of this is coming with controversy, people getting ridiculed for joining Liv Golf, but they're getting paid more money to play less golf. Why would they not accept that? Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA, came out and disgustingly, in a way, grandstanded, saying, how are these players going to explain to the families of victims of 9/11 that they're now signing for Saudi Arabia? Again, Super ugly situation there. And then a couple of months later, PGA and Liv Golf have formed a union because the money was there. The PGA needed the money. The money makes the world go round. Now we look at Formula One, and they have spent $650 million for 10 years to have one race a year come to Saudi Arabia at the Jeddah Circle, hopefully trying to bring in those Formula One fans to Saudi Arabia to watch this race. And again, comes with some controversy as Lewis Hamilton, the biggest name in the racing world, has come out and said that F1 drivers are duty-bound to raise awareness of issues in Saudi Arabia. It's not our responsibility that we are brought here, but it's our responsibility to educate ourselves on the matters that are going on in Saudi Arabia. With a whole bunch of talks about sports washing, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But let's look at some other sports. The WWE, they've spent $1 billion for the next 10 years to just have 2 events of the WWE happening in Saudi Arabia, all again in hopes of bringing people over. In boxing, they've outbid other countries to host the Anthony Taylor-Joshua Usyk rematch. They spent $80 million to just host that match. The esports business, they bought ESL Gaming, which is the largest independent esports franchise, for $1.05 billion. And then they went out and bought Face It, which is the biggest tournament organizer, for $500 million. Esports is growing in the world. Again, they are taking all of this innovation that they are talking about, and now being that they bought the number 1 team in the world and they bought the number 1 tournament organizer, I can't help but to think that these tournaments slowly but surely will start being organized and held in Saudi Arabia, and they're hoping that as esports continues to grow, these tournaments get bigger and bigger, and more people from all over the world are going to come to Saudi Arabia to watch these esports tournaments. They're now looking to buy into tennis, and recently we had a lot of players come out, some in support, some against, but they're looking to get into the tennis world. Bring people to Saudi Arabia to watch tennis. While you're here, we'll show you a good time. Hopefully you'll like the kingdom and you'll come back and reinvest. They've said that their ultimate goal is to be hosting the Olympics here in the next coming years, and they've already hired Boston Consulting Group to help them get the 2030 World Cup to be hosted in Saudi Arabia. So they are making major splashes in sports as they realize that this is the one thing that can connect people from all over the world. And if we just bring all of these people here to Saudi Arabia, show them a good time, have them waste their money here, have them go look at these 4 brand new infrastructure innovations that we're building, they are really, really hoping that they can become the center of entertainment in the world. However, this isn't the first time that we have a royal family investing into sports. So let's take a look at that. We've had Abu Dhabi, which was the first major Arab nation to come in and buy a major sports franchise in Manchester City, who have just won the Champions League. It proved to be a worthwhile investment, a very profitable investment for Abu Dhabi. Qatar went out, bought PSG, again showing to be a profitable investment for them. So Saudi Arabia saw all of these competitors coming out in the Arab nation to buy all of these European sports. They saw that it was a profitable investment, so they said, hey, it's now our time to get our foot in the door, and what a splash they are making. And if you think that they are stopping at European sports, you are wrong, because just today, Qatar Sovereign Wealth Fund bought a minority stake in the Wizards, Capitals, and Mystics, 5% of the ownership in these clubs for $4 billion. Right here in our nation's capital, we have the very first ownership by Arab nations in our sports. Qatar has bought for $4 billion, 5% in the Mystics, the Capitals, and the Wizards. So they are coming for American sports as well. And if you think that Roger Goodell is sitting back in his evil lair, not thinking about how can I get some of this Arab money to be invested into the NFL, how can I get a piece of this pie, you are so wrong. You know that he wants a piece of this pie. We've already been going to England to play a couple of games. We've been to Germany to play a couple of games. We've shown that in Europe there is a market for NFL games. The Chiefs and Dolphins game sold out in 15 minutes, so there's clearly a market there. And there's already been talks about maybe creating a division out in London. Well, if you look out just in England alone, there are 4 clubs owned by royal families: Manchester City, Newcastle, Sheffield United, and Aston Villa. Those 4 teams right there could already build a division. That's 4 stadiums that are already built. So if Roger Goodell is sitting back in his evil lair and he knows that he can get a piece of this pie, so do not be surprised if very soon we see a brand new division being built in England for the NFL. These 4 teams right here can be the hosts. Maybe the first couple of years they give them you can get a little discount on the salary cap. Maybe we can build a super team over here, finagle our way, pay a little bit more to Roger Goodell so we don't have to appease to the salary cap, and pretty soon we will have a Super Bowl champion in England. Mark my words. Much in the same way that everything else that Saudi Arabia is doing in this Vision 2030, the buying of sports has not come without any controversy, as a new word that has been circulating around as of recently is sports washing. And the definition is when a group, corporation, or nation state uses sports to improve its reputation and public image through hosting prestigious sporting events or investing and financing popular teams. Now, if you just look at what you need to do to consider sports washing, Saudi Arabia has done all of it. They've bought popular teams. They're trying to host and will host the 2029 Asian Winter Olympics. So they're going to be hosting the major sporting events. They know that the unifying aspect of sports can cover up all of these other human rights violations, all of these other negative things that we see going on in Saudi Arabia, and it's changing the perspective of Saudi Arabia to the world. And honestly, it's working. We've already seen this at the Winter Olympics. Russia and China hosted those. We've seen it at the last 2 World Cups. Russia and Qatar hosted those. There was a whole bunch of controversy with the Qatar World Cup, but just be honest for a second. When you first think Qatar, me personally as a massive soccer fan or football fan, as soon as I think Qatar, I think World Cup, I think Messi, I think beautiful scenes, whatever it is. If you asked me a couple of years ago what I thought about Qatar, the vision of Qatar would have been completely different. And now it's the same thing with Saudi Arabia. As soon as I think Saudi Arabia, I think, wait, who did they just sign? Or I think Ronaldo, or I think soccer. Or if you're a golf fan, you think Liv Golf. Anything like that. But you do not think of the human rights violations or any other negative things going on in the country. So they're basically just buying reputation around the world, and honestly, it's working. But back in 2021, when Newcastle was being bought, this was also a major discussion, a major topic. And they came out and they said, I forget who the lady's name was that was facilitating the buying over of Newcastle. She said, this has nothing to do with sports washing because it's not the head of the state that is purchasing the team. It's not Saudi Arabia that's purchasing the team. It's the Saudi Arabian private investment fund. Well, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is the chairman of the private investment fund. So how can you say that there is no correlation and saying that it's completely different, that Saudi Arabia is one thing and that the private investment fund is another? Well, they're both run by the same person. So, again, sports washing, I personally believe that it's true. I don't know what you guys think. You guys can comment down below. But we're not only seeing this in sports. We've seen this in other investments all over the place. We've seen Amazon, Microsoft, Twitter, Uber, Chase. I mean, all of these other corporations are also selling out to the Arab world and notably to Saudi Arabia. They have money. Money makes the world go round. But to me, personally, as a sports fan, it's a sad time because sports and politics, I don't like when they kind of intertwine. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older, but I just like to sit down and watch sports just for the love of the sport, for the love of the game. And when you're bringing all of this politics and you're bringing all of these other things, it kind of clouds it all. And now, even in the NFL and the NBA, we have these conversations recently of scripting because of gambling, because Vegas wants whichever team has more money on it to lose. So it's kind of just getting really tricky. Sports turning into an entertainment business. How valid are sports? I would just like to sit down, drink a beer, connect with somebody from across the world, somebody that I have nothing in common with, but for 2 hours, we can just share a human experience, share a good time, have a laugh, talk about, oh, where are you from in Italy, this and that. I think that's the beautiful part of the game. And we have the 2026 World Cup coming here to the United States soon. I'm excited to meet people from all over the world, to meet all these different cultures, to have the United States host this major tournament, bring all these people in, being the melting pot that the United States is. It's kind of a sad time, sports washing this and that. But again, money makes the world go round. It's the day and age that we're living in. But comment down below what you guys think of this whole Saudi Vision 2030. How do you think it's going to end up? Are you for or against all of these investments of major monies into sports? And if you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you guys. When I tell you that this is the hardest video that I have filmed on this channel as of yet, I usually just report on whatever is going on, what the major transfers are. I have sat here for so many hours doing research, filming, messing up when I'm speaking, having to go back and re-record. So if you could just subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, comment something, just say hello. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you want more content like this about different things going on outside of sports but that are affecting sports, let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. This has been The Crossover. Peace.
Like the video and subscribe to Crossover.